Happy Monday, back again once with Mike Irwin for his show, Ask Mike. Each and every Monday coming here from the Big Trail Nation, brought to you once again by DraftKings. DraftKings now live in the state of Arkansas. The crown is yours. Please bet responsibly. Mike, pretty rough weekend last weekend. The basketball team getting eliminated. Really rough weekend for baseball. This weekend outside of women's golf, not much better.
Softball is winning.
They're a lot better than Auburn, but yes, they are. It looks like maybe this could be the year they get to OKC.
Yeah, so maybe you just got to take it when you can get it, whatever. But it could be a long next month, month and a half or whatever if baseball doesn't turn it around. DVH had his Swatters Club meeting to get it, and some of the stuff he said didn't exactly jive with what he was saying before about making all these changes. Maybe just one change in the starting rotation, continuing to stick with Gackle. We'll talk about that in a minute, but we'll see if they get it turned around. I don't know that it's because they don't have NIL money, but some people say that.
Hey, money makes everything better. It makes everything easier, and when you don't have enough money, it makes everything worse. Oftentimes, it is that simple. Not going to be much easier for them. Certainly, I was talking about the weekend, a lot of the struggles around the baseball team, dropping 2 of 3 to Auburn, also a heartbreaker, probably maybe the game of the year in college baseball. What happened to Missouri State whenever they lost 15-14 in the midweek game 1 week ago. Alabama this week, Mike, they're off to one of their best starts really in the last decade, so it should be a big challenge for Arkansas yet again. First question this week, though, about the basketball team coming from Clark in Clarksville. Are you surprised as me at the way Michigan whipped Arizona? I guess we weren't as close to being national contenders as I thought we were.
Okay, I'm going to get accused of defending Arkansas here, and I'm not really doing that. It's something that I do believe, which is you don't always when somebody blows another team out like that, it's not just that they were that good. It's not just that Michigan was that good, and therefore Arizona was a phony.
Or that Arkansas was a phony and Arizona's a world beater,
Here's what I noticed. And I said this last week that Arkansas got Arizona's AA game, as good as they can play. Everything was working for them. Ball hits the rim, bounces up 3 times, goes in. Layups are going in. They shot over 60%.
Arizona doesn't shoot 3-pointers. They made their 3-pointers.
They shot over 50% on 3-pointers, over 60% on 2s. They didn't turn the ball over hardly at all. Arkansas had something like 9 points off turnovers.
They scored 109 points.
Yeah, and they scored all those points. So what happened? I think it was the old Nick Saban rat poison. Because here's what happens if you're Arizona. You play that game on, what was it? They beat Arkansas on a Saturday?
They beat Arkansas on a Thursday. They played the late game Sunday against Utah State and struggled.
That's right. It's more so than they did against Arkansas. But so you have all that time to think about. They still won their second game in the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8,
beating Purdue,
and they won that by 15 points. So they're comfortable in both of those games. One's a blowout, another's 15 points. So you sit around all week. We're really good. That's what everybody was talking about, was how dominant they were. But if you really look, they weren't as good against Purdue. They didn't do some of the things they did against Arkansas. And a lot of people said, well, that's because Purdue's better. Not necessarily. So what do I say about Michigan? I say Michigan played really well. Michigan was ready for the game. But if you saw Arizona at the start of the game, those guys were sleepwalking. I mean, it wasn't just Michigan. It was Arizona looking dorky, like they didn't look ever the rest of the season. I mean, they missed point-blank layups. They turned the ball over when they didn't need to turn the ball over, when there was no reason for it. Now, 2 or 3 times in that game, you saw Arizona kind of correct everything, and now they're playing well again. And so the lead is 15, 18, it gets back down to 11 or so, and then boom, starts happening again. So I don't think that the blowout necessarily means that Arkansas is like 40 points away from being able to get to that level. I still think that all the way up, and this could happen in the national championship game, we'll have to see. And I hope we have a competitive game. I hope it's not a blowout, although there's no way. I just don't like Hurley. To heck with him.
You're allowed to not like him. How good of a coach is he, though? They don't have the NIL money that a lot of other programs in the country have. They could win a 3rd national title in the last 4 years. I don't think this has been done since John Wooden, who truly is in a class by himself. Now he's going to have some company. It could be Dan Hurley.
Well, I hope Michigan just wins the game. I'd like for it to be close, a competitive, fun game. But what I'm saying is we don't know what will happen. It could absolutely be that one of those teams doesn't show up. So it's not always that we were that much better than you.
Yeah.
Some of it is you were just bad that day. So that's my defense of Arkansas. I don't think that means they are that much farther away from now. They still got a ways to go. If you really look at the Final Four teams and look at Arkansas, you see where the deficiency is. It's in the bigs. And I don't know that that problem gets solved. We'll talk about that too. But that's how far they are away. They've got to have a better inside game.
Yeah, we really hoped, and Cal had alluded to prior to the season, we need to be able to go inside and get a bucket when we got to have it. We thought Malik Ewan, Nick Pringle, maybe even to a lesser extent, Trevin Brazil could provide that. They never really did.
Yeah.
They just never quite had that dominating post presence that you need, especially in tournament-style basketball. Next question coming from Archie Hall Jr., who says, I was excited about getting a healthy Carter Knox back next season. A physical wing like he is that can score and rebound and play defense would have helped us a lot in that Arizona game. Now he's gone. Did Cal not try to keep him? Also, if I might add, DJ Wagner, now also in the transfer portal. Both these guys, great contributions to Arkansas. They were great soldiers. Could be a little bit of position redundancy, and they're going to get an opportunity somewhere else.
This is one of those things where I get conflicting explanations from different sources, okay? One source I talked to said, look, it's real simple. Both of those guys will have better opportunities to play somewhere else, and they'll probably get more NIL money. So it's simply a simple situation like that. And I think in Wagner's case, that may be what's going on because it looks like he's headed to Memphis. I think his dad played there.
Correct. His dad played for, not only did he play there, he played for Calipari there. Yeah. He was one of Coach Cal's first high major recruits whenever he got to
So if he goes back there and he's the starter and he gets a little more money and all that, I can understand that. Now, the thing with Carter Knox is, according to some people, and they may be wrong, is a little more complicated. We got into this last week in that supposedly, if you'd listen to them, these people, he was not happy with the way his injury was dealt with. Now, I got some clarification on that today. It wasn't that necessarily that they didn't treat it sooner, that they did do the operation. Apparently, he thinks he shouldn't have been operated on at all, that it was a meniscus tear, but what you do a lot of times is just scope that.
Scope rehab, yeah.
Yeah, and you're back in a week or two. And so he doesn't like the fact that they did this surgery, which eliminated any chance he had of playing in the postseason. I don't know if that's really an issue. And unless he says it, how are we going to know? But the bottom line is they're both gone. So what does that mean for Arkansas? Well, I think if you look who's coming in and a lot of this is Carter, is Billy Richmond coming back. Could they get Malik Thomas back?
And I think Carter's not going to play over Billy.
Yeah.
With Jordan Smith coming in, potentially Malik Thomas coming back. Well, where does DJ Wagner fit in?
And then J.J. Andrews. I mean, he's right in there. He's a big wing. So
Abdu Torre is another one.
Yeah, another wing. He's a small wing, and we got a big wing and a small wing coming in, but they're both talented. So I don't think it's anything to be concerned about, and it probably was inevitable.
Are you with me, though, that whenever you do see this, you immediately, I think, probably a pretty good chance that Malik Thomas is coming back because DJ Wagner has a good relationship with Coach Calipari, given what his dad played for him, et cetera. You glean the same thing that, hey, they must be talking to Malik. There's a good chance that he does return.
I do think so. It doesn't mean it's a sure thing, but this could actually be good news. That's what we're saying.
What if Malik Thomas goes through the draft process and then people start getting into his ear about you can make a lot more money?
Well,
do you think Arkansas is prepared to pay him top of the market?
No, because I think he can get $2 million. And from what I hear about what money is available to Cal right now, I don't think he could offer that. He's certainly not going to offer it for a center, and that's his biggest need. So I think if Malik comes back, it will be because he wants to come back. And for all those cynical people that say that athletes only go for the highest amount of money, that happens sometimes, but it doesn't happen always. And so I just think there's a chance Malik comes back because he likes it here and he likes Cal, and he wants to come back, and he's got unfinished business. Maybe he thinks we can go higher.
You're talking about the money and them not being able to get into a bidding war. Do you agree with this, though? The roster should be upgraded. They were believed to be, there's no way of us to know this exactly, believed to be a top 5 NIL roster 1 year ago. Mm-hmm. There's no reason for us to believe they won't be a top 10 NIL payment type roster this year. So should it be upgraded to what we just saw this past season?
I don't know. I keep being told Cal has less money this year. And some of it is Tyson can't continue to give at the level he was giving because now he's doing that patch thing and he's helping all the sports. And supposedly he told Cal, look, I'm doing everything I can for you. You got to go find it from somebody else. And maybe that hasn't happened yet. I don't know. Or maybe it has and nobody knows about it. It's just hard to know exactly what's going on.
Calipari is a Don, but the true Don of the Arkansas athletic program right now, Johnny Tyson. That's the guy that's bringing the bucks. That's the guy you got to make happen. Next question here. Young Turk wants to know, what's the deal with Ewan? He keeps teasing us with these announcements soon post, but nothing is happening. Does he want more money? Hey, I myself included, I bet Mike Irwin, but everybody in the world, we all want more money.
Yeah, I'm sure he does, but I'm not sure that's what it is. But I can't get an answer. Here's what you run into if you're me or anybody else in the media that has sources. When somebody tells you, yeah, maybe that's, but there's something else, and you go, well, what is it? I can't tell you. Well, what the hell is it? What are you talking about here? You can't talk to me? Because you're used to somebody, a source, telling you things.
Well, what's the point in telling me I can't tell you what it is if you're going to even bring it up in the first place?
When they say it like that, I'm thinking, what, did he run over a dog somewhere and they're going to throw him in jail for not stopping to help the dog? What did he do? Did he get caught in an illegal poker game? I don't think it's any of that stuff. But all I can tell you is that I'm told that it probably will get resolved sooner or later, that right now it's still up in the air, and I don't know what that means. I don't say that very often, but I'm not sure what it is.
Well, most people seem to believe the eligibility issue has been resolved, that he is going to get another year of eligibility.
Yeah, so maybe that's not it.
Now it's just a matter of where will he play. That's some really good, it was ups and downs, but man, had some really good moments for Arkansas this past season. A lot more to get to here on Ask Mike. Time to take our first time out. Back with more here with Mike Irwin on this week's Ask Mike and diving right back into some of your questions. Next up, one of my favorite topics of last week. Bud at Bud Walton says, as a season ticket holder, I'm beyond mad at the Michigan State game being moved to Detroit just to get money from CBS. That was our game. So now who do we get instead? Southampton State? Mike, what do you think about
Is there a Southampton State?
Probably. If not, we can pretend there is.
Is that a real school?
East-West Middle Tennessee State?
We don't know. Okay, look, Cal has explained this.
Yeah, he got online.
He went online and he said, look, this game is going to be returned.
And I had heard the same thing.
Probably year after next, they'll come in here. So you are going to get to see Michigan State. That still doesn't solve the problem for next year. I don't know how they're going to. You got to get better games in here in December. I realize you can't do it every week, but the fans do deserve better November, December games. But this whole thing with playing this game in Detroit is being kind of, I guess what they're saying is the NFL game that Detroit plays first.
Yep.
How does that work if the game goes into overtime or whatever? Will they put enough time in between that there's not an issue?
I think what we see a lot, those that are really into college basketball, those Tuesday, Wednesday windows, whatever it is, if Arkansas plays in that 9 o'clock game, they'll hold it a little bit, but then you get to a point where it's like we got to start the game.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I guess CBS paid them some bucks. Now I had speculated. I don't know if I said it here. I said it somewhere. That maybe they were getting so much money for this from CBS that it would buy their big center that they need. $3 million for a top center out. And I was told, no, the money we're talking about is more like $1 million, not $3 million.
And probably for each school.
Yeah. So, and I don't even know if he's allowed to do that. I don't know how that works. I don't know if Cal says, hey, we got more money, I'll use it for myself. Your check may say, no, you can't do that. Some of it may have to go back to the conference. I don't know how that works. But apparently it's not going to give them enough that maybe it could help with some of their NIL issues, but not going to allow them to go after a top level, highest rated center in the portal, which might cost him $3 million.
Are you a little bummed? I don't, pissed off's probably a little bit of a stretch, but why can't they play that game on Thanksgiving Day at Bud Walton? Or, we got a ton of alumni in Dallas. Last I checked, there's a Thanksgiving Day game in Dallas. Why can't they play it there?
Well, it's a matter of convincing CBS, hey, Bud Walton Arena is not the end of the world. It's the environment, the atmosphere is good.
And I absolutely think fans here, holiday or not, would show up and fill it out for Michigan State.
Sure. So I don't know why, other than CBS may have thought, hey, we'll do this doubleheader thing and it'll be a big deal and we're willing to pay extra money for it. I think Cal's attitude was, look, I like these kind of games because it puts us on a big stage. It helps me in recruiting in places away from Arkansas. So it'll help my recruiting up in the Northeast where he recruits really well anyway, right? So I think there was reasons why he agreed to this, and I don't think you should be mad at him for accepting the deal. I think in the end, Arkansas will still benefit from this.
Do you get the feeling that they will be able to bring in a marquee opponent for a non-conference game? Because a year ago, they got the home game and the whole deal with the ACC. So presumably this year, they're going to have to go on the road. I don't know, maybe the cycle resets or something like that. But
I don't know.
As of now, it doesn't appear like there's a marquee non-conference game that's coming to Bud Walton.
And if that happens, then Bud Walton's going to be mad. So I can't tell you you're going to get a good replacement game this year, but maybe next year, well, the year after next year, you'll get Michigan State in here. That's what Cal said.
All right, next question here coming from Just Win, who wants to know, what are the odds of Cal landing a true center like we're seeing from teams in the Final Four? Seems like he can get the best guards, but his second level when it comes to landing a dominant true big man.
Well, and Somto Cyril, is that?
Somto Cyril is probably the most talked about. His background at one time as a prep was committed to play for Cal at Kentucky. He's in the portal, and a lot of people have speculated that no more than any of us know that Arkansas is very interested.
I was told that he will come to Arkansas for less money than he's been offered at other schools. If you go on the internet, they're saying he's going to Kansas. I'm told that's not true. We'll have to wait and see if that's accurate. But I would also not call him a dominant big man. You look at his numbers.
10 and 10.
I mean, he's scoring under 10 points a game. His rebounding isn't just dominant. So I don't know, this may be a true reflection of the situation Cal's in. He's the best shot I got to get somebody that's big, and I'll combine him with the other players that I have, and if I get Ewan back, and maybe there's one other guy out there. There's a guy at Georgia Tech somebody mentioned to me. I looked him up, and he was averaging 2 points a game. So I don't know about that. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. But the whole thing about getting better in the minds of most fans, and I agree with this, is you got to have something inside that you didn't have this year. And right now, I'm not sure they're going to have that.
Somto Cyril looks like a grown man. I mean, he is a big dude. It's eye-popping.
You have to get better.
It's eye-popping whenever you see him, inside the paint. He's a big body. We got, hypothetically, Somto Cyril, Malik Ewan, who I believe would be a fifth-year senior, J.J. Andrews. We saw in the McDonald's game, he's got the ability to push some people around.
Yeah, he's physical.
Does that make them better or that much better in the post than they were this past year with Pringle and Ewan?
Keep in mind that they may also go out and get a power forward that doesn't cost them an arm and a leg and figure they can develop the guy. Some of this is development. Now, I'm talking to some people about this, and they're going, well, they need a better guy to coach the big man. That's their problem. Their coach, the guys that coaching their bigs is not that good. This is just fans complaining. I'm not saying he's not. But there's a question coming up that maybe would be an answer to that, although I don't think it's going to happen.
All right, well, let's get into it. I'm not sure if Mike's alluding to this question or not, but he is a big man that played at Arkansas. Eddie Lynn up next. I was always a Joe Klein fan. Any chance Calipari will hire him to help coach the bigs? I think it would help recruiting to have somebody like that on staff. We all love Joe Klein.
Okay, so everybody, I've mentioned that Eddie Lynn's a guy I've known since the fourth grade. He lives in Lubbock, watches a lot of Razorback games. And he had mentioned to me some time ago that when he watches games where Joe Klein is one of the analysts, he was really impressed with him.
It's a lot of the ESPN Plus games.
And he says he knows clearly based on what he says, he said that guy knows centers. He knows what big men need to do. And he said, why can't they bring him on board? And I said, well, look, he's not, at this age, you don't become an assistant coach and make a jump like that. He said, it's not what I'm talking about. What if he just volunteered and pay him some money or whatever? But he doesn't have to recruit or anything like that. You just bring him in at practices and have him work with the bigs and help what you already have. And I said, well, I think if that was going to happen, it would have already happened. I'm not saying it can't. Might be a good idea, but I said, if you feel this strongly about it, I'll try to get Cal's phone number and you can text him. I don't have his phone number right now.
But Joe Klein has it.
Yeah, Joe Klein might have it, and then you can text him and say, hey, you need to offer Joe a chance to come in and work with the bigs during practices.
Probably more than just an element of like, hey, let's get a guy that used to be a good big man in the post.
Yeah, but he's convinced that, we discussed that issue. He said, I'm not just saying because he played in the NBA and he's a big that he knows this stuff, but he said, I just think based on what I've heard him say, he's knowledgeable and he could help these guys.
Yeah. Why not? Why not give it a shot? Because we know whatever they did against Arizona, unfortunately, that just did not work. Next up, Penny Hogg asking, how are participants selected for the dunk and three-point contest for the NCAA tournament? I was kind of hoping to at least see TB or Billy Goat in that. I've always thought TB was one of the best dunkers in the nation. Is it based on stats? Does their school have to enter their name in for consideration? Whatever it may be. Good question.
You think that
I believe Arkansas also led the nation in dunks, so they certainly dunked the ball a lot.
I believe that you were telling me not long earlier before we went on that this used to be limited to seniors.
I believe it's and still is, yes.
Because they're giving them money to appear.
Which would violate amateur status, yes.
So you have to be out of eligibility. I don't know if that still applies anymore. It sounds like to me that they do this based on general overall knowledge of highlights. In other words, the TV people watch these games all year. They get a guy in mind, look at him. Well, he did this, let's look at another game. You start looking over highlights and go, yeah, wow, this guy's really a dunker. And apparently they just decided that Brazil wasn't that much of a dunker. He certainly had some amazing dunks. In fact, when they do the, whatever they could do that thing at the end of tonight, the
one shining moment.
One shining moment. We'll see what they have from Arkansas, but Arkansas's got to be in there, right?
They'll be in there indirectly. High Point is going to have some. The way that game ended against Wisconsin, the way that Rob Martin, nothing against Darius Acuff, who was the best player on the floor, but the way he performed against Arkansas, him crying with his coach there on the sideline whenever he fouled out. That's what one shining moment is about. But yeah, I think Darius Acuff's three-pointer, that and one in the High Point game, that should make it in there.
There was a couple of dunks from Brazil that I thought might make it in. A block shot. Remember the block shot he had?
There was a real big one against Hawaii. I believe, the one-handed against Hawaii. Yeah. That was the game. That was a great.
So
great
we'll see
dunk.
if we have that. But I don't know why. I can't tell you why he wasn't picked. But I agree. I'm prejudiced. They should have picked him. What's going on here?
Penn Hog, I'll throw this out for you. Prime Time at the Palace or Pack the Bud, whatever they're calling it. They're Arkansas's version of Midnight Madness. There's a dunk contest every year. There was like 12 or 13,000 people there for it. Billy Richmond had a great dunk. Brazil competed in it. I think DJ White, whatever, a whole bunch of players. Go to Prime Time at the Palace preseason. You'll see a dunk contest. Get the people involved. Yeah, they bring in all the great dignitaries. University of Arkansas. Some legends of the years past. A cool night. Go check that out, and you'll see your Arkansas players in the dunk contest there. Next question as we shift gears to baseball here. Hog Penn Expert says, so DVH now says he has to start making changes or Arkansas will not have any postseason this year. All he's done in making changes, there's a new lineup in every game. He's moved players all over the infield and outfield. It hasn't helped hitting, and the defense is getting worse. Maybe he just doesn't have the players he needs.
Well, he's mostly apparently talking about pitching when he talked at the Swatters Club. That's what he was mostly talking about. But let's start with hitting. Because the big issue to me is he's having to replace 4 300-plus hitters from last season: Logan Maxwell, Fahiva Lloyd, Charles Davalon, and Logan Maxwell. Now, Rutenbar, he's at 379 right now. That's more than a replacement. He's higher than anybody was last year at this point. And then Ruiz, he's batting 330, and he was a really good player, but he's hurt right now. So there's two of the things that, one of them is an improvement. But we have a problem with Eloy. Eloy's not hitting the way he did a year ago. Micah New and Zach Stewart are both guys that need to come through, and they haven't so far. Does that mean he made a mistake? Does that mean they're not, Nate Thompson is not working with them right? Whatever. Who the heck knows? We've seen both of them look good at times. There's just not a consistency thing there. Probably the biggest disappointment is Pompey, because we talked about it. He looked bad at first, and there are all these questions, and then all of a sudden he got better and started hitting home runs, and now he's back on and not playing again. And when I talked to my friends at Lubbock when he played for Texas Tech, they thought he was amazing. So they don't know what's wrong with the guy. Is the SEC's pitching that much better than it is in Big 12? You wouldn't think so. But those are the issues with the hitting lineup. And I think it's way too late in the season to start expecting any big improvements. So that what does this team do? Well, it's the pitching. And apparently, based on what happened at the Swatters Club meeting, it looks like Colin Fisher is the only starter that he's replacing. So we'll see how much difference that makes. He's going to stick with Gackle. Maybe if Gackle can win a game, and then you've got, your Saturday starter is looking pretty good right now. At least it did this past weekend. Mm-hmm. So then if
Hunter Dietz.
Hunter Dietz. So if you get a Sunday starter, then all of a sudden maybe you win 2 or 3. But look who they're playing.
Alabama, as we mentioned off the top, off to one of their best starts in the last decade, if not their best start in the last decade.
Yeah, so it just doesn't look good. And so the issue becomes, does this team even fail to make postseason? Is there no NCAA tournament? And I would say right now, if you had to ask me, I would say no, they won't.
They will not miss or not make?
Not make it.
So you think they're left out?
Yes. They're going to have to improve their pitching, and their hitting's got to get somewhat better. I still think you can get in with a team that scores maybe 5 runs a game, but not 3 runs, not 2 runs, especially with your pitching the way it is right now. So it doesn't look good. Does this mean Van Horn suddenly can't coach? No. Every year there are different issues. You've got these people that claim that there's an NIL issue there, and Van Horn is not happy, and they're saying that they would expect him within the next year or 2, if that NIL situation isn't resolved with baseball, that he would either go to another school or retire. I don't believe that. I think that's people talking, but if it happened, I wouldn't be totally shocked.
Naturally, yeah, given his age. And he did say at the beginning of the year, he said he plans to keep on coaching for a long, long time. I think it's way too drastic to say, hey, is what's going on right now a wake-up call? Because credit to Dave Van Horn, who is unquestionably one of the best coaches in college baseball. This has been listen to this, the winningest program in the sport dating back to 2017. But out of 2016, when they lost 9 straight, or whatever it was at the end of the year, they got better. So, again, wake-up call too severe. Do you think this could lead to them doing things differently? Like, hey, we got to start hitting the transfer portal. We can't just be a high school developed kind of program anymore.
There could be a lot of things that he would react to. But so far, when we talk about changes with this team, the changes I see is he's moving people around in the lineup and moving people around in the positions. You got a guy at short, now he's at second. You got a guy at second, and you got a guy at first, now he's over at third. You got a guy at third, he's over at first. You got outfielders moving.
You got a first baseman or catcher playing in left field and dropping big balls.
Yeah, and so it's led to one of the biggest issues that doesn't get mentioned is their defense has dropped off from what we normally see. They are losing games because they're dropping balls out in the outfield or not reacting properly to a ball hit in front of them. You react late, and then you can't get to it. And then maybe you're in too far and it goes over your head. These are things we're not used to seeing from a Dave Van Horn team.
Yeah. The Missouri State game, no excuse. That's a really good program, going to be in the postseason. You can't score 14 runs and still lose that game. They had some critical mistakes in that game that kind of cost them. More to come here on baseball. Got to take a quick time out. Back with more of your questions on Ask Mike. Ask Mike this week brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Now live and available in the state of Arkansas and pretty much wherever you are watching this from. Next up, Dr. Strangepork says the 2026 baseball Hogs looking like the 2016 Hogs. We were just talking about this. Painful to watch. How did no one see this happening? It is like waking up to find a sinkhole in your yard. Now, in fairness, they were doing pretty good with the duct tape to get this thing by. You know, they beat Mississippi State. They were tied for first place in the SEC after 2 weekends. It does seem to have dropped off a little bit quicker.
Yeah, some of it is the injury to Ruiz is really critical because it causes a problem defensively in the outfield, and he was probably your leadoff hitter and at one point he was their best hitter. So that's part of it. The whole issue about walking into a sinkhole, that's the whole pitching thing. I don't know. I've said before, I can't figure that out.
It's supposed to be a strength of the team.
But some people have suggested to me that we may be talking about an injury or two, that you're still pitching, you're not hurt to the point where you can't pitch, and they need that person so badly that they've been using the person, but now they've decided, well, he needs rest, we can't do this. So I don't know, maybe there's something going on with Colin Fisher. I'm not sure. Other people think, you know, there's some of these guys have been sick, they don't know. Remember earlier when Van Horn mentioned sickness?
It's been a couple times this year.
Yeah.
You say we got
so
something
is that still going on? I don't know. But so when you start trying to explain some of these things, there's an answer there, but they don't necessarily put it out there. I will say this. If we were talking about any other baseball team, probably in college baseball, once in 6 years, a problem like this wouldn't be viewed.
A decade, which really is what it is.
Yeah, they wouldn't be viewed as what's that?
What's wrong? Yeah.
But now it's like, whoa, you can't do that. You're Arkansas. You've got to. The very thing that Van Horn sometimes gets criticized for, which is his teams are always good but not great, can't go all the way, is now they're using it against him. Well, wait a minute, you're always good. How come you're not good? So maybe what's happening in here is they won't be good this year, but next year they'll go all the way. That would be the most sports-like thing ever.
Well, yeah, you go back to 2016. I believe that was the worst year of Van Horn's career at Arkansas.
Yes.
2 years later, they come as close as they ever have been to winning the national title.
Right. Drop foul ball.
It really can be a blip on the radar.
Sure. So maybe it's not the disaster. If you can endure this, maybe it looks a lot better next year.
This was not the expectation when Dave got here, but do you agree with me? This has become the expectation. The expectation is not get into the postseason and host a regional. The expectation now with the Arkansas baseball program is we get to Omaha. That's almost the baseline, it feels to me. And that may not be fair.
No, it's probably not fair, but until you win it all, that's the attitude they're going to have. Well, you can't win it all if you don't go to Omaha. So if you didn't go to Omaha, you're not going to win it all. How long is this going on? But again, now it's like nobody's talking about getting to Omaha. They just want to get to postseason, and that may not happen. So what does that mean? How will the fans react to that? Will it affect the crowd? It already is affecting crowds. I will say this. I love Razorback fans. I think they're some of the best out there. But the fan base has changed from when I was first here in the 70s, 80s maybe, and I don't know when it changed. But somewhere along the way, this Razorback fan base turned into a group of people that will show up when you're big and you're ranked in the top 10 and they think you can win it all. And I'm talking about any sport. They'll show up big but if you're not good, and it's not just being bad, if they don't think you got a shot at winning big, the crowd starts to drop off. We saw that in basketball. I've said this before. Cal's got to know the one difference between Arkansas and Kentucky is those Kentucky fans, as annoying as they are, no matter what kind of season Kentucky's having, they fill up.
Every season's full.
And it doesn't matter who the opponent is, and you can't say that about Arkansas.
The weather's been pretty good too, and they have had some big baseball crowds. That's not the point, but yeah, you wonder what this starts to
and
look
it
like.
Will start to drop off. I've already seen it.
And another thing that we take for granted, it's pretty much just assumed, like, well, yeah, Arkansas is going to host a regional, maybe host a super regional. It's not supposed to be like that either, but that's just kind of what has happened here and how it's evolved in the last decade. Next up, Wizard of Hogs. That's a pretty cool name there. Troy Eklund of the SEC would not allow said the SEC would not allow Trackman. Now I heard the same thing from one of the ESPN broadcasters. The same announcer said the ACC did allow the grid. What is the SEC afraid of?
Okay, I really had to get specific on this because this is the second time he's asked this question. And the first time I was told they do allow the Trackman equipment in there, a tablet. I think you bring a tablet in there, and then it feeds the information into the broadcast booth. And so I was told once before, no, we have those tablets in there. I got clarification this time. They have the tablets in the broadcast booth, and they will give you all the data on things like bat speed, pitching speed, launch angle, and all this other stuff that you may want to talk about. They are not feeding the data in on the strike zone, okay? And I said, well, okay, are they trying to protect the SEC umpires and keep them from looking bad if you have a game in which the Trackman says the ump is way off? Are you just trying to protect your own umpires? And the answer I got was, no, that's not the main issue here. And think about this. He said, tablets are also provided to both dugouts. So if you've got coaches in that dugout that can look at the strike zone and they see the ump's way off and misses 2 or 3 really, then they're going to get all over the guy. He said they already get on him anyway. Now you want to give him more ammo? No, it was decided we're not providing strike zone information to the dugouts. So if you can't do it to the dugouts, you're not feeding it to the broadcast group.
And I'm sure it's coming for college baseball, and I'm sure pretty diehard sports fans out there have seen it. These challenges that are going on in Major League Baseball. It's great theater. It's incredible, and you wonder if maybe the umpires behind home plate, are they really needed? Because the batters that are challenging these seem to get it right way more than they get it wrong.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe someday they will go to, these automated to a Trackman system of doing balls and strikes.
It feels like it's coming.
But they haven't done it yet. And my point is on this, as long as you've got a real live human being back behind the plate making the calls, he's going to miss some calls. He's going to call the game differently maybe than another guy would. He may even call it different from one game to the next. He's given the outside corner, now he's not.
And he may call it differently in a tight game in the 9th inning than he called it in 1, 2, and 3.
Right. So but guess what? We've seen that in basketball this year with the best refs are at the Final Four or at the NCAA tournament. As long as humans are involved, there are going to be mistakes, and you just have to live with the fact that is what it is.
Players make mistakes, referees make mistakes, whatever it is. I know the MLB has this data. 93% of the calls behind home plate made by an umpire are accurate.
Yeah.
With as fast as that ball is moving, that's remarkable, but it's not perfect. Next up, moving to football here, coming from the Iceman who complains, this forum, he's referring to Hogville, used to be the place to go for practice reports. It's dead in here. He's referring to not much information coming out of some of these scrimmages, Mike, as it relates to Ryan
Up until about 2 years ago, when the football team had a scrimmage in the stadium, fans could go. I don't know, it doesn't sound like Silverfield is going to do that this year, although he could. What they've never done is allowed fans to go into the practice field and watch any kind of scrimmaging going on there because there's not enough room. Or even in the indoor, because it could get too crowded.
If 500 people show up, that's way too many.
But what they have done, because it's spring, is allowed the media to go in there and watch all of it. Now, if you go back far enough, we could not only watch everything, we could film everything, we could shoot everything.
You shoot your own highlights.
But what started happening was that with this portal thing, it changed it all because, as Pittman said, people sit there and watch and then see a good player and then they're all over him. Well, that got solved because there's no portal after baseball, but that still doesn't mean, and I'm guessing about Silverfield, because right now he is not allowed any media or any fans to watch scrimmaging, like there was a scrimmage on Saturday, unless you're a major booster. I think 2 or 3 big-time boosters got in there. I think, now he's done a good job of describing what happens. He's given numbers. Everybody's interested in the quarterback battle. He released some numbers on the quarterback's completion and who they were, what the distance was and all that. He talked about the basic nature of the scrimmage was that both offenses, the 1 and the 2s, and 1s went against 1s and 2s against 2s, both of them moved the ball in the middle of the field, but when they got inside the 5-yard line, he said, we intentionally did not try to kick a field goal, and we did not throw into the end zone. We wanted to see if we could run the ball into the end zone, and they got shut out. Okay, that tells you, a fan, that this defense is a little better than it was last year, or it could tell you the offensive line is not as good. That's the problem with playing yourself. You don't know which is which. I've always said what you want as a fan when you're talking about spring ball and a scrimmage is you want a good mix. You want some good offensive plays, some good defensive plays, and if you get one dominating, well, you sort of had that in this. You had the offense moving the ball in the middle of the field. They just didn't run the ball in. Yeah. So that doesn't mean they couldn't have thrown it in for a touchdown. And frankly, some of the receivers looked really good, and some of the passes to the receivers looked good. And I will say this, based on what I've seen released through video, this is the best 1, 2, 3 quarterback situation I think they've ever had. You go back to Pittman, and I mean, there were times when K.J. Jefferson was it, and if he was hurt, you didn't win the game. I think he's got, from what I've seen, they've got 3 quarterbacks right now that can throw the ball accurately and look pretty good. Who ends up with it, I don't know. Fans want to know that. You're probably not going to find out for a while. But the days of going in there and watching, or even for the media, are probably over. I just think the way things have changed, coaches do not, they want to control what gets out there.
And in fairness, to make a bad analogy, but whatever, kind of like the Little Rock thing, well, less people showed up, and I know they didn't get good games down there. I got it. But fewer and fewer people have been showing up for the spring game. So my message to the fans, it's going to be open. If a whole bunch of you show up, you put 30, 40,000 people in there, the light bulb will go off of like, hey, maybe we can monetize this. Maybe we can do it more. Maybe there is a thirst for it. But if 8,000 people show up, it's kind of a message of like, you know what, they don't really want to.
And history suggests to me that it'll be more like 8,000.
Yeah, a lot of that's kind of
because
like
here's
baseball,
what you're
predicated on the
getting
weather.
when you go when they post some of this video. Go in and read the reaction to it. It's just loaded with the typical internet comments of, same stuff as last year.
Don't read the comments.
No.
Don't read the comments.
Because those, I've explained this before, those aren't normal fans. These are people that are mad, and they're going to do that. Unless you win a national championship, they're going to find something to be mad about.
Up against it, more Ask Mike coming up after the break. Back here to wrap up this week's edition of Ask Mike, brought to you yet again by DraftKings. DraftKings, crown is yours. Please bet responsibly. Now available here in Arkansas. Next up, Mousetown, big fan of the program. Is Maria Jose Marin the best female in college golf? I'd say so after she set a record at the Masters Amateur. This Razorback not only won, she blew their doors off.
What was impressive about that was her short game. If you know anything about Augusta, if you're a golf fan and you watch that tournament every year, the thing about Augusta is there are greens out there where just because you land a golf ball on the green doesn't mean anything, because it can go over the green, then all of a sudden you got to try to get up and down from off the back of the green. It can go too far and run into a water down on the other end, and that's what happened to 2 or 3 of these girls. It was tight when they first came on the air. I think Maureen was in second place by a stroke, but there were 3 or 4 girls right there around her, and they all just on 14, 15, and 16, they all blew up. Every one of them at one time or another had a horrible hole where they just double bogeyed, or one of them triple bogeyed, and she just went right through there. She was having problems too. She went over a green, I think it was 15, had that same tricky shot, but hit her chip shot up and it stopped in time, and she dropped it in for a par. When you can do that, you're really good. Now, this has been good publicity for Arkansas. Freddie Couples had his picture taken with her and said some nice things about her. Rory McIlroy was on and he said some good things about her.
Shauna Taylor on the Golf Channel, the whole
She was on the Golf Channel talking about how that they recruited her, and when she went down to, Columbia, where she's from, they didn't even know where Arkansas
family
was.
never heard of Arkansas, yeah.
And this is a really neat family. Like, when you want to talk about amateur sports, and we get all these complaints about everything is about money, this is true amateur. This is golf. They're not paying
Women's golf.
Women's golf. They're not paying her NIL money or anything else to go play in these tournaments. So she's just up there playing. And she got a brother with her, and it looks like he's 9 or 10 years old. He's walking the whole way with her. When it's over, her family's over there. She's going crazy. Then her friends run down and jump all over the place. Then she sees Shauna Estes Taylor, and they're all hugging and everything. And it's just a big love fest. And it's just fun to watch if you're a Razorback fan. Now, I get it. Some people don't care about golf. but it's Razorback sports. And it's the biggest thing, honestly, that happened over this past week. I'm telling you right now.
Certainly on a positive level.
She is the best female golfer in the country right now on the college level. Now, the only issue becomes, is she going to become as good as Stacey Lewis? Because Stacey Lewis, when she was at her prime, was maybe the best player on the LPGA Tour. Yeah. She won several majors.
Got to number one in the world.
And did that. So can Marine do that? And we're all pulling for her, those of us that like golf, and I do. We want to see if she can do this. But that was fun to watch. And it was fun to watch at a time when everything else was just going, this is terrible.
And so cool to me that if you're a sports fan, if you're a golf fan, that setting, you know the history, and Amen Corner and Rays Creek, and Maria Jose Marine, she got to walk up 18 and put her hand in that cup as a winner this exact same way in the exact same hole that Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Rory McIlroy last year, all these great moments. She got to live that. And there's a big rub for Arkansas golf whenever that happens.
Yeah, it's just if you understand what Augusta National is, and just to get to play on that course, to play a tournament on that course, even if it's just one round, because the other two rounds were played nearby, it's just, it's just an amazing thing, and it was fun to watch.
All right, next up, Parallax Pig, who says, you guys seem to be advocating still using third lane money with comments on grassroots. Ole Miss Collectives, which is pay to play, and CBS basketball money, the Michigan State game for Arkansas, to pay players. House settlement states only 2 lanes, rev share and true NIL. What's up? House settlement is BS.
Well, it's kind of BS right now because this whole thing got settled supposedly over maybe a year and a half ago. Because what basically happened was college football really did this. The ADs got together, the Power 4 conferences, and said, wait a minute. The NCAA is backing off every time there's a threat of a lawsuit. We've got to do something to get these NIL payments under control. So they formed their own group, which ended up being called the Commission on College Sports. They had ADs involved. They brought the House of Representatives in. They brought a well-known judge in because the judge was there to say, yeah, I think this will hold up legally. So they sat there and maneuvered and negotiated for weeks and finally came up with this plan. And the plan was you were going to hire a company, Deloitte, that was going to come in and look at all these NIL payments and say, wait, this is not a true NIL. What is a true NIL? It's a true endorsement. It is, we will give you this money for endorsing our product because you can help us make more than what we're paying you. That's a true endorsement. That's what happens on the pro level, NFL, NBA. They don't just give somebody money and then lose money.
But in fairness, you're worth whatever somebody's willing to pay you.
But they were trying to get rid of these boosters. It's a booster NIL plan.
I know it's phony too.
I'm Billy Bob. I own a series of car lots. I'm a Texas Aggie fan, and I'm going to pay this quarterback $6 million to
sit
come
on the bench.
And you can go look and see that Billy Bob's car lot didn't get $6 million more extra dollars in revenue by the endorsement this guy did. So this is what they were trying to eliminate. But here's the problem. And Cal talked about this about 2 months ago. Every time you try to enforce these things, you get these agents popping up with their lawyers saying, fine, do it and we'll sue you. And so what do they do about this? That's the real issue. It's not that the whole thing is BS, but if they can't get past these lawsuits, it is BS right now. Yeah. Because it was supposed to go into effect July 1st of last year, and we don't have it right now because Cal still has to have NIL money to compete, and it's going to stay that way.
Final topic of the week, kind of tying into what we're talking about right here, maybe the biggest topic coming out of last week, coming from Hog Dogger, who says, since President Trump signed executive action on NCAA athletics, it seems even the NCAA is happy they didn't have to be the ones to make a decision. Doesn't say much for their organization. Mike, we were talking about this on Sunday night, and I'm still not sure how this is all going to stand, but it's a great step.
Well, first of all, you can't blame the NCAA from this because they've been taken out of the equation. It is this Commission on College Sports, and they are the ones that are deadlocked right now. They haven't held off for 6-8 months past when this was supposed to go into effect without some reason for it. And I think what they sat down and said was, we got to have some kind of action at the federal level. So Cal supported this, Greg Sankey supported it, other conference commissioners, other ADs. So
The NCAA president.
yes, the NCAA, they're all behind this. Why? Because there are two things involved here. Number one, I think they believe that Trump has been involved in so many lawsuits, and what he does is every time he gets sued, they say, okay, you can't do this, and he just takes it to another court and takes it to another court. And in some cases he's lost, but in some cases he's won eventually. So I think they're thinking, well, maybe this executive action, if we take it up high enough, it'll hold. But they're also suggesting that you combine this executive action with a bill passed by the House of Representatives, which would affirm this. And I don't know why it wasn't done in the first place, because the House approved it. They call it the House Court Settlement. But anyway, maybe they need to come back and actually pass a law, put it into effect. Then when you have the president behind it again, maybe then it survives these lawsuits.
It would have backbone if that happened, but all indications are that Congress will not put any of this stuff into law. Doesn't mean it won't happen. Just means as of now, they're saying no. So the big overriding point, and this has been talked about for about 4 or 5 years right now, it seems like still the only path to getting this in order is putting these players under true contract, a true revenue share model. But why doesn't the NCAA want to do that?
Well, it's the schools that don't want to do it, the universities. They don't want these guys. They don't want athletes as employees.
Well, to me, that's want to have our cake and eat it too.
Well, it's ridiculous.
So we want you to stop taking advantage of the system, but we want to make sure we get more than you.
It's ridiculous. I guarantee you there are people over at the U of A right now who are students that are employed working in the student union, working in the library, working in bookstores on campus. They're getting money from
it
the
may
school.
be $15 an hour or whatever, but
they're
still employees
of the university. So I don't know why these athletes can't be, but they're opposed to that right now. And I agree with you, that would solve the problem in a hurry. Now, some say that the athletes themselves will fight this. They don't want it because they know it will control.
They've never had it better.
Yeah, they've never had it better. And look, I mean, you've got people fighting this whole thing all the time. I mean, Cal was on there advocating for it, and who was the guy that was
Jay Billis.
Jay Billis.
Who's a lawyer.
Who's a lawyer, was sitting there saying, no, if a coach makes $8 million a year, you can't tell a player they can't make $3. Yes, you can if they're in college. And here's why. That coach didn't make that money when he was in school. Yeah. He started out with a job after college. He moved up to another job, and maybe 15 or 20 years later, he's making $8 million. Well, the players can take that same process. It's hard for me to explain why this is an issue, because it shouldn't be. You've got too many students like myself who worked their way through school, didn't get student loans, had to make my grades and at the same time work part-time jobs, and it was tough. But if somebody had said, I'm going to pay your room and board, I'm going to pay your tuition, and I'm going to pay, and I'm going to give you an extra $20,000 a year.
A stipend, yeah.
Are you kidding me? I mean, I'd go to town with that money.
We're really up against the time, but as much as we can, a quick thought here. I agree that a lot of this can't be enforced, but I do think that all these schools can say this. If you want to pay players that are beyond their 5 years or their transfer window, or you want to have phony NIL collectives, you go right ahead. You can do that. We can't stop your games getting on TV. But here's what they can do. The NCAA tournament can say, if you pay those players, you're ineligible for our tournament. You can't take part. The college football playoff, which is not directly tied to the NCAA, they could say, you can do that, your games will be on TV, but you can't make the college football playoff.
Do that.
Is that something that is possibly enforceable or probably not?
I don't know, but it's an idea. It's another way to approach this. And another way to approach it is say, okay, if you're going to make all this money, guess what? We're going to charge you tuition. We're going to charge you room and board. You're going to have to pay for all that on your own. You're acting like an adult. We're not giving you anything.
And it feels like only like 2 or 3% of the college athletes, the top college athletes, are making most of this money.
Right.
It's the prime time football.
And that's the other
players.
agreement. I think they all ought to get the same.
Out of time, really up against it here. Mike Irwin, great job as always. Thank you for checking out Ask Mike.